So today, when I talk about living with disability and trying to overcome with, this is a very personal issue because a few of you must be aware that I have a child with invisible needs, and the total journey I have undertaken since her birth has made me so efficient and improved me as a human being, as a mother, as a you can say as a person with patience, because I was actually not patient. So I needed to get it out that having a disability or living with a disability is nothing to be ashamed of. We can succeed and we can be proud of who we are. And especially in these last 4 months with the COVID coming, I talk to parents of kids every day who don't know how to cope with their kids always in the house, their tantrums, their anxiety, and I found that for me to talk individually to all of them and for me to get it across as a mom of a child with special needs is very essential. Because when I had a child with special needs, like all moms, I didn't know. I was just trying to go through everything and pursue it and internalize it. And the only thing that stood out for me for the first few years of my life is, firstly, I had always to put on a brave face. I cannot cry. I cannot uh, have any sort of questions. I always had to be very brave. Second thing that turned out to me is everyone used to judge me more as a parent, as though I have done something wrong as compared to why my child is like that. And that judgment came to the point always that I was giving advice. I was, even because I'm from India, I was asked to visit astrologers, pray, fast, chant, go and do lots of things which I found is extremely unnecessary and stressful for a parent who is herself trying to process her child's disability. And also, I found that when my child, because she has invisible needs, looking at her right from the start, you couldn't understand. No one can still recognize that she has anything special, or she has anxiety or whatever her other disorders, apraxia and the medical terms are. So lots of her friends, her normal school friends, used to come and ask me, auntie, why doesn't she speak, why doesn't she play with us, why does she get scared so fast? So I found that for me to be able to tell them, I couldn't tell them her technical terms, she's doing this, she's a medical this thing, that's why she's behaving like that. I found that I had to upgrade myself, I have to learn myself, so that my daughter can be integrated into a society that predominantly loves her. Because she's such a, means if you meet her in person, she's very huggable, very lovable, she tries to be the center of attention. And in that, it's always that the society is ready to accept her. But if she gets crowded, there is so many ifs, there are so many triggers. If she's having a bad day, she has not slept, she's not able to go forward and talk to the others. So I found myself as a link between this society that's ready to love her and accept her and her needs. Because I am the person who is capable of understanding her needs, like all mothers are. We are somehow, I think, since we have that feeling in our stomach that we have a child, we change ourselves and we start growing ourselves and we become tuned to the child's need. I think it's forever, especially for those of you who are listening with older children. I'm sure you will say the same thing about me. We understand and we automatically tune ourselves to a child need, irrespective of whether they're able to express it or not. So based on that, I found that, firstly, when you get a diagnosis of your child, the first thing that you need to do is do what your emotions tell you to do. If you want to cry, if you want to shout, you want to throw a tantrum, go through, get very angry at the world like it happened with me. Why did it happen to me? Why? Forget everything. Just get your emotions sorted first. Don't bottle up your emotions, because if you bottle up your emotions today, tomorrow, or even years later on, you will find that it's affecting your child, because you need it. your child's behavior toward you has not changed. She's still the same lovable person she was. You are still the mom, you are still the parent, you are still the primary caregiver for her. Your equations has not changed. She has just given a diagnosis for you, for everyone who interacts with her, to know how to deal with her better, and you are the link for that. So for that, if you just go through the points, I've just written down points. Enjoy your child the way she is, along with her diagnosis. Get comfortable talking to everyone, asking for help, which I myself found is a very tough thing. We are tuned as women to keep control of our emotions, to not ask for help, to always be the caregiver ourselves. And it reaches a bursting point that no one is ready to understand or accept our emotions, how confused, how utterly rudderless we are feeling at the end of the time. Finally, even 15 years back, I found that in my community, in the people that are all there were lots of other cases similar to my child, same diagnosis as my child. It did take me a time. I got hold of those parents, I interacted with those parents so that I could find what should I do next. Now we have all the Facebook groups pertaining to a child's diagnosis. Now we have all these support systems based on the school or the professional that your child is going to. Go into them. Even if you feel not comfortable speaking right now, believe me, after a few months, you will feel confident enough to know, yes, I know how to deal with my child. And once I know how to deal with my child, the society that is loving her is also ready to accept and love her the way it is. Next is, yeah, how do I go for the next screen? It's not going. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Spend the first year after diagnosis delving into learning only. Don't ever rush. The magic is on your hands. Learning in the sense, her behavior, the points that triggers her tantrums, because when we say a normal child tantrum and a person who is having a disability, the tantrums are absolutely different. Because a tantrum of a normal child is controlled by the child, they know where the emotions are. But for a person with a disability, they just lose control. You need to know where their safe places, what makes them calm down, be it music, be it running around, be it staying in a safe room. It's every single person with a disability I have ever met has a different way of dealing with this. So as a parent or a caregiver, our first part is learning this. What calms my child now? What is her safe place? Don't ever rush. The reason being, as soon as you get a professional diagnosis, believe me, there is a very lucrative, rich industry out there that will try to put you in all sorts of therapy that is perhaps not at all applicable to your child. You need to think, you need to analyze, and that's where I believe I'm thankful to the creators, I'm thankful to the universe for giving me this power for me to analyze what works for my child and what does not. Because I'm not saying the professionals have a negative thing in mind, they want my child to develop as fast as it can be. But for me as a mom, I have to think that my child shouldn't become unhappy just because a therapy has worked for some other person. Perhaps that person doesn't even have the same diagnosis, not necessary it will work with the child. Think with your mind the sort of therapy that will work with you. And for this, of course, for the first 10 years I didn't have the Facebook groups, but since then, she's now almost 16. Since then, after the first 10 years, I have found that talking to people who have the same diagnosis as my daughter and a bit older to her helps. Because when you have the same disability, you can say to the mom, you know, when I had this, my mom made me do this, my family, my friends made me do that, I felt this way. Make sure that your daughter doesn't feel that. So you know how to deal. It's something new that you can know. You can analyze. Of course, there is always trial and error. Like every single mom, every single caregiver in the world, there is nothing like being 100% correct. We always are learning. Even am I talking to you, I'm still learning. Next is, yeah, hire yourself as your child's self advocate. Because I didn't have all those school groups that we have now, what I did is, the school that my child was going to, it was an integrated school. It was a special section for her therapies and also the normal school. I used to take time off my work and sit there for hours, seeing how my daughter was reacting to the therapies, how she was liking, not liking, how can I do it at home. It's a journey, like you can say, a practical journey for a caregiver or a parent to become the child's self advocate. If the child is not able to speak at a point of time because of her anxiety, you should be able to understand what she is doing, what she's thinking. And as the child grows, now as it is with my child, other people can understand her and they can say she's experiencing that even if she's anxious. So you need to build it up, build yourself up in such a way that you become the strongest advocate of your child. For that, you spend hours, believe me. Still now, I read every night, every single new thing that comes. I need to know whether it's going to be applicable and how can I use it for a child. Become your own expert by reading and researching. Join social media communities led by your child's diagnosis. Understand how your child perceives the world. This I would like to elaborate a bit, because when a child is anxious, the way she's seeing everyone is as though they're all there out to trouble her. When the child is calm, she will be very friendly, trying to make friends, interacting very much with them. So you need to be there at least till the child is mature enough to handle herself, to understand where she is getting triggered or where her behavior is changing, where she's feeling threatened. But at the same time, as a caregiver, we need to remain calm and reasonable by keeping the focus on the child. Acknowledge you are feeling anxious. Okay, what do you want me to do? You want to listen to the music? Which music do you want to listen to? Okay, you want to go and stay in some room? Okay, fine, let's go to a room. Do you want me there? Just communicate and talk in a way that the child does not have to answer back, because I have personally seen with not only my child, innumerable other childs I have been able to deal with, even the atypical childs we have, that when they feel anxious, they just are incapable of any sort of emotions. They can't talk. Primarily, firstly, they lose their talk. So at that point of time, if they find a caregiver understanding their needs, they will feel, yeah, I'm accepted. And because this acceptance is very necessary for us as a caregiver, they will easily calm down. They will not go into that dangerous zone of becoming vicious or becoming abusive or becoming, because they're just like, if you see a sort of, you know what means, even though using that word becomes, I have seen such cases, because their emotions are not controlled by their family, by their caregivers, and they're not understood, they become just like a wild animal. They don't have any control of their reactions. And that is where all these bad cases we see of people, police even gunning down, holding them. And it feels so sad that this could have been stopped if the police were a little bit more aware, or there was a caregiver with a younger child who tell that, no, this is what my child is facing, I need them out from this situation now. Innumerable time, this is the main focus we are trying to do, because a police is finally, when I just talk to the police, because this upsets me, the situation of killing happening to kids who are actually, even if it's a 30, they're still a kid. When they're anxious, they don't have any control of the emotions. Our police are a part of a community out to help us, but they can only help us if we are ready to help them. They are seeing a threat and they are reacting the way they have been trained. As us, if we go out and If all of us who are listening to this today goes and tells and takes up a class with the police that if you see an anxious child, please deal with this in that way. If you see an anxious man, old 30 plus 40 plus year old man or female, and you try to put them into a calming situation, the police are a part of a community. They are not an enemy. They will still try to help us up. This is something I keep on repeating. Yesterday also I was talking to someone who is a police officer of a profession, and she was saying it has never happened to her, but she reads all these stories in the net and she gets upset. Basudha, what will I do when this happens to us? I say, don't think that the man or the woman in front of you is old. Think of that as a 5-year-old child stuck in an adult's body, and deal with the man or the woman in a way that you will deal with a very anxious child, and you will do it. I think all of us as caregivers have this role to play. All of us can do that to help our community to work for our children, because finally when we are gone, the community has to take care of them. We cannot be there always. So for the community to accept them, we continuously need to barge in and teach them what is required to be done for my child to feel calm and composed. That's why I cannot reiterate millions of times, even if I say become your own child's self advocate. Once you become the biggest advocate, and you know people will listen, and the people who listen are helping your child again. It's very selfish, of course. We are developing a community where my child can thrive, and there is nothing to be ashamed of that. The next slide. Yeah, thank you. Next is what I do every month. Of course, the professionals that you go to will set down their own goals, that this is what we want to do. 3 months, we call it as the IEP, individual education plan. They set the goals. But other than that, as a parent, as a primary caregiver, we need to specify goals based on, like I said, when you are seeing the child on a daily basis, you know where her negatives are, where the things that triggers her, like I told you, you write down initially. So for that, give everyone they interact with the social, emotional, and the technology. We have the iPads, the act tools, lots of tools are there that the child uses and understands, and make sure that everyone that she's interacting with know how to use those tools. My attitude, my patience, actually I won't even say attitude, my way of dealing with people who are not technology savvy or who have never faced a child like mine will determine how confident my child feels, and that is their only step for them to succeed. Could you please yeah, that's something I told before, but again it's a very important thing, because we are pushed into so many things, therapy things claimed by medical aids and blah blah blah, which is actually not going to work for a child, is going to make our child unhappy, and is going to make us also unhappy in the sense. If those who live with it say the method is bad, it definitely is. Like I said, you talk to the person living with the disability. If they say it's bad, it's bad. It does not work for my child, because an adult is saying how I felt. My child could not say how they felt. That's extremely dangerous, because as the child grows up, the child will carry that anger of how he or she was forced to remain into the circumstance, into a circumstance where they had no option, and that anger carries on into adulthood and creates lots of traumas and lots of bad things for everyone. It's not only for, I'm talking with living with a disability, for everyone. So these individuals, whether a normal or a one with a disability, these individuals grow up into a very traumatized adult, and they carry that trauma into every interaction they have as adults, and lots of bad things happen without all of us going. We are seeing how the world is going through. It's because their trauma was not analyzed and accepted when they were very young. Sorry, the next slide. Oh yeah, approach challenges positively. The first and foremost challenge I had to face, and it was extremely hard for me, was making my child to walk. At 2.5 years, she was still unable to walk. She could just stand up and crawl. So I had to make it into a very fun way, and I knew her muscles, because they were sitting for so long, her muscles had to be stretched, and it was, I used to cry after completing her therapy at home. But in front of her, I used to laugh and clap, and I wish everyone does the same thing. Just encourage the child so that she feels pumped up to go forward and do it. The child should see them as speed bumps and challenges and be able to cross them. Again, later on, with talking, with writing, every skill, it's a very painful situation for the primary caregiver for teaching the child whatever things is done, because they're emotionally attached with the child. And I have found that every time I do it in a fun way, in a happy way, my child is very acceptable of doing it, and she keeps on doing it till she's capable of doing it, because she has that thing. She just needs a push to go forward in life. How I deal with my obstacles of trying to make her a better individual teaches my child daily how I should handle them. If she has, I'm talking of experience of parents I have seen, something the child is unable to do, they are rebuked, something falls from their hands because the hands were shaking, the child is rebuked, insulted, bullied, talked about. Think of us. If this thing happens with us as mature adults who have already faced the world, will we take the initiative of going forward and doing the same thing again? I don't think majority of us will think again, do we go and do in that place or that house? It's a small child. How do you expect them to deal with an obstacles when you are already telling that if you do not do it properly and perfectly the first time, you are a failure? No, we need to teach them that the best way to deal with obstacles is go through them like a road roller. That's the common word I normally use. Go through like a road roller and you will overcome. The obstacle will be flattened. Absolutely. And that's how we deal through life every single day. Next slide. Yes, thank you. This is again, whether your child grows up to be an adult and moves out of your house, or whether you have just been diagnosed with her disability, learn and upgrade yourself and find out what works best for your child. Recognize yourself, how your child learns. There are so many ways of learning which any Montessori school will now tell you. My child is a kinesiologist and a visual learner. I have to tell her how to do things and have to give her visual drawings or diagrams of how each thing should be done. Take charge of your kids' education. If she is not able to do something in class, talk to the teacher. The teacher is not able to do, talk to the teacher aide. They are not able to do, she is being, which normally primary happens, she is being bullied by a classmate in the playground. Go to the principal, go to your special needs education network, be there poking on the face, because your caregiving attitude will decide tomorrow where your child stands. You cannot support if you do not know what are the resources available to you in your district, in your community, in your country. Without knowing, as it happened to me initially also, you will stress and flip everyone out. You will go into tantrums, you will start shouting on others who have no idea about what is happening, and then the child will be adversely affected. Yes, and the most important thing, this is something I have found many parents not able to do. We do need live in a very constricted society, and especially with COVID-19, we have lost out on jobs, we have lost out on our money. Every one of us is running on a short household, but the education that you have given yourself daily over the years will help you tide over this time now. Do not stop because of lack of funds or lack of support system. Since the last 4 months, we have not been able to take our child out for therapy, any sort of therapy. I am practicing what she had already done over the years at home, whether it's in speech, whether it's in occupational. Do not bother about a lack of support system. There will be someone, you will find out. Also, new regulations. Oh goodness, the government and the special education. This is something I have found. It keeps changing every 3 to 6 months. If there is a new regulation, meet up with some mom who has heard it, talked about it, learn it from her, and find out how you can impose it on your child. If is it working on your child? If yes, you go and request. If it is not working, please don't. When I had a few parents who are staying, who just called me, who are staying in small houses and who are telling me that I don't have a place to exercise my child. I advised them, this is a meeting I had yesterday. We all have the sofa cushions in the house. Put the sofa cushions in the floor, let the child jump, get the energy out. You don't need to take, they want to run, okay. You take them from the kitchen to the bedroom and back again 20 times. They just need to get out the energy that's inside them. You as a caregiver have been given this opportunity, has been given this power, this privilege to set up circumstance for the child to grow. Do not get limited by any physical thing. COVID-19 is here today. It's very bad. I have just lost a very close friend's parents, both sets of parents today, and I do feel sad when these things happen. But as long as I'm alive, it's my part of my duty to make sure that my child is continuously being accepted by the community that she is in. So do not ever give up. Don't. I cry, believe me, even at this time. Some days I just take blankly in bed. What will happen if I die tomorrow? I cry. Keep crying. Like I said right at the start, keep crying, keep having tantrums, do whatever you feel like. Finally, when your child sees you, you are the person who has to be strong in front of her. Nothing, there is nothing to be done out there. And the last one, yeah, I think this is the last one. Yeah, this is the last one. So everyone who is listening to this, to become an emotional and more than an emotional support, to come out of this COVID-19 situation that we are facing through Alive, it will be a great help if all of us go through that have just been discussed. And I'm sure even all of us who have kids without any sort of disability will benefit definitely from all the screen shared. Thank you so much, Dawn, for helping me out with this